Right, this is my introduction to binomial. We're going to toss a fair coin. So what's the two possible outcomes? Heads or tails. Toss it again. Heads, tails, heads, tails. Toss it again. Heads, tails, heads, tails, heads, tails, and heads, tails. So this first one, heads, heads, heads. Next one, heads, heads, tails. Next one, heads, tails, heads. Next one, heads, tails, tails. Here, tails, heads, heads. Tails, heads, tails. Tails, tails, heads. And tails, tails, tails. Now with binomial, we look at success or failure. So we're going to call success, for argument's sake, heads. Alright? So how many successes? We're looking at the probability that the number of successes equals 3. Can anyone tell me what that is? One over 8. Okay? Or 0.5 times 0.5 times 0.5. What's the probability that x equals 2? So there's, what was success was heads. So there's 2 heads there, there's 2 heads there, there's 2 heads there. Is that it? So what's the probability? 3/8. Okay. What's the probability that x equals 1? So 1, 2, 3 over 8. Okay. And what's the probability that there's no favourable outcomes? 1 over 8. Okay. So the 3/8 plus 3/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 is 1, adds to 1. Okay, so now I want to just show you how to do that on your calculator using binomial distribution. The binomial distribution, you can remember that off by heart. It's got a memory thing, which you go bi, no, me, il. The bi means there's 2 outcomes, success or failure. No means a set number of trials. Me, myself and I, each trial is independent of the other. Okay, so when you have to list these conditions of binomial, that's condition, and all trials have the same probability, so constant probability. The probability is not changing. Okay, now I was going to get our calculator. Alright, so you go to menu, you go to stats. I'm going to exit there so I get to the right spot. You go to distribution and you go to binomial distribution. BPD. Okay. Now var. So the probability, we're looking at the probability that x equals 1. What was the number of trials? We had heads, tails. What was the number of trials there? How many coins were we tossing? But, what was heads, wasn't it? So there was 3 trials, and what was our probability of success? It's a fair coin, it's 0.5. Notice I wrote pi there. So pi is the way that we write the probability on this particular distribution binomial. So x is 1, number of trials is 3, probability 0.5. So we get 0.375, which is? Can you remember what it was for 1? So the probability of getting one head was actually 3/8. So that just did the same thing, but through your calculator. Back to here. So now you get the idea. If I was to go, I want the x to be 0, what's the answer going to be? So the probability that x equals 0 equals no heads. What was the probability? 1/8, yeah. So if I go execute, I get my 1/8. If I was to say the probability of it equaling 3 heads, what was that? Yeah, 1/8. Okay, if I now said, and this is actually going to the next page almost, what's the probability of x being less than or equal to 2? That's going to be the probability of x equal to 0 plus the probability of x equal to 1 plus the probability of x equal to 2. So that's going to be equal to, was it 1/8 plus 3/8 plus 3/8? So it's 7/8. Okay. So you could have done it like that, or you could go distribution, binomial cumulative distribution, and gone less than or equal to 2, and you've got it. Okay, so the cumulative distribution button is always looking between 0 to wherever the x is. It's always looking between and including there and there. Okay, makes sense? So let's do some exercises. See if we can get your calculator working. So remember that there is not 3.14. It's the probability in a binomial trial thingy. Okay?